Hi, I'm Chris Edmonds, Redwire Chief Financial Officer. You're watching Taking Stock.
Counting down to the close, everyone. It is Friday, May 15th. We are halfway through the month. This is Taking Stock, and I'm Kristen Scholler, live here on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Big day on Wall Street and around the world. Earlier today, the NYSE announced that President Lynn Martin joined the delegation of U.S. business leaders participating in President Trump's historic state visit with China's President Xi Jinping. Martin then traveled to Shanghai at the invitation of the White House to represent the U.S. business community at a ministerial forum as part of this year's APEC 2026 second senior officials meeting and related meetings. In remarks, Martin emphasized that sustained global growth depends on inclusive AI adoption, strong governance and infrastructure, and international cooperation. She said, quote, the U.S. capital markets are the deepest, most liquid, and most transparent in the world. That did not happen by accident. It happened because we built the institutions, the rules, and the accountability structures that gave investors and companies the confidence to participate. We're committed to bringing that same discipline to how we engage on AI domestically and internationally, end quote. Well, we are set for some fireworks here at the New York Stock Exchange. Macy's doing the honors for the close today. 50 days out from America's 250th birthday. Let's take a look at that closing bell podium as we are about to see some sparklers. Keeping with tradition down here on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Of course, America turns 250 years old. Down here on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange, we are getting this party started 50 days out from America's 250th birthday. A lot of fireworks on Wall Street this week as well. The S&P 500 yesterday closing above 7,500 for the first time ever. The Dow surpassing a level of 50,000 in yesterday's session. Let's take a look at where we ended the session today. We are lower, giving back some of those gains, but still within striking distance. The Dow down 1.1%. I can smell the smoke from those fireworks. Yeah. All right, the NYSE Composite down about 1.3%. The Russell 2000 Small Cap Index down 2.4%. The S&P 500 down 1.4%. Again, these major indices just down 1% from all-time highs. Consolidation, but concerns about inflation after that hotter than expected wholesale inflation data that we got earlier this week, and of course bond yields. I want to bring in our expert. He knows how to break it down for us best. Eric Criscuolo, he's market strategist at the New York Stock Exchange. Eric, happy almost July 4th to you.
To you as well, Kristen. Happy Friday.
Okay, so we had fireworks this week on Wall Street, but not quite today. When we talk about literally and figuratively, that's because the stock market, of course, ending lower. What took us down today?
So, markets have been powering through higher oil. They've been powering through higher interest rates. They've been powering through a war in Iran. And so, a pullback just in general is expected, especially with some of these really sharp moves that we saw in some of the tech names over the past several months. Semiconductors, memory names have just been on a stratospheric rise up. But also, coming off the Trump-Xi meeting, nothing really happened in that meeting. There were no huge advancements in the trade policies. Agreements really weren't hashed out. China said that they wanted the strait to be open, but they didn't really seem to be saying that they would pressure Iran to do it. So, that kind of left markets with a little bit of all right, so what's next? So I think that's why we saw some of that pullback, why rates went up, why oil went up, and why markets or equities finally reacted to that.
So also this week, right, there was a lot going on. Kevin Warsh confirmed as the next chair of the Federal Reserve, and we see bond yields actually rising this week. Of course, that does coincide with some of the inflation data. What does Kevin Warsh mean for the Fed, borrowing costs, and thus potentially equities?
Yeah, I think that, unfortunately for you right now, that remains to be seen, so I can't give you a definitive. But, we know what his policy or his thoughts have been. He's said it for years now. Basically, lower rates, smaller Fed balance sheet. Okay, that's great. The problem is, for him, he has to wrangle the rest of the FOMC committee to get him. If that's truly what he wants, he has to wrangle all the other members to that position. And right now, there's a growing divergence with members that actually are saying, you know what, we might actually have to raise rates going forward because inflation is not only staying high, but it might be actually moving up. So he's going to have to deal with a couple of issues when he finally sits down in that chair role today and see if those policies want to come through.
I will say deal making though still seems palpable, right? Vita Global going public today. Yesterday it was Blackstone Digital Infrastructure Trust, and on Wednesday it was Global Medical Response. So the deals do seem to be flowing. What does that tell us about sentiment and resiliency?
Yeah, I mean, equities, S&P is almost at an all-time high, right? We just came back from 7,500, so slipped a little today. But I mean, you were at all-time highs, so the ability to raise capital, at these levels, it's there. The window is still open, even with the rates and oil higher. If this continues, then you might start to see a pullback in that or a closure of that window. But as of right now, the equity window, the equity capital raising window is still open. So yeah. You should still see an activity there. All
right, we'll be watching deals, of course, down here on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. We're still riding high from the celebration here. 50 days out from the 4th of July, everyone, and of course the NYSE working in partnership with America 250 for the big celebration this year. Eric Criscuolo, thanks as always.
Always a pleasure, thank you.
Always a pleasure. All right, so while Donald Trump and Xi Jinping met in Beijing, the robotics arms race between the U.S. and China has continued, and Cheddar's Chris Castellino has more on an American company trying to close this gap. Let's take a look at part one now.
It has become one of the defining industrial policy debates of our time. The United States is losing the global robotics race. Not in a lab, but on the factory floor.
Each robot from China that's in America is a potential Trojan horse. They can be used for surveillance, remote disruption, or physical harm.
In 2023, China installed more than 275,000 industrial robots across the world. The United States installed 37,000.
99.9% of what we use here in the US is from these other countries. At the same time, they're installing the tools to be even more efficient at a 10 times faster rate.
In this episode of NYC Innovates, we'll dig into why the future of US robotics is at a crossroads, how a New York-based startup called StandardBots is fighting for American dominance, and what it means to become a robot-ready nation.
If you looked at robots years ago, it's time to look again because things have changed.
On March 26th, a new proposal landed in Congress, the American Security Robotics Act, a rare bipartisan bill backed by Senators Tom Cotton and Chuck Schumer. The message, Chinese-made robotics and AI have no place inside American infrastructure.
Each year, China is installing more industrial robots than the rest of the world combined, and now controls over 80% of the global humanoid robot market.
AUVSI is the Association for Unmanned Vehicle Systems International. It's the world's largest trade organization representing robotics, drones, and autonomous technologies. And for over 50 years, it has served as the industry's voice in Washington.
We work very closely with Congress really on education and advocacy and letting them know the importance of the robotics industry and how it's really become a foundational layer of economic power, manufacturing strength, and national security and defense. We're entering this era of embodied artificial intelligence where AI is the brain and robotics are the body. And in the United States, we're doing well winning the race to build the brain with groundbreaking companies in the artificial intelligence space, but we're badly losing the race to build the body and to build the actual robot. Our problem is not in invention, it's implementation and scale. What the American Security Robotics Act does is it targets US acquisition of robots. This is already in place for drones, which are flying robots. So it seems like a very straightforward extension.
The bill's framework also includes incentive programs to catalyze domestic manufacturing, encouraging U.S. companies to scale production and drive down costs. Less than 30 miles from New York City, inside this growing production facility, a company is trying to prove that American-made industrial robotics can not only compete, but lead. StandardBots was founded with a simple and radical premise. Build a robot arm so intuitive that any factory worker with no technical background can pick it up, program it, and deploy it in a single day.
We're the biggest American maker of industrial robots right now. And we do a few things a bit differently than all the other people that make robot arms. We're actually using AI so that you can show the robot what to do, and that trains it on how to act rather than having to write any code. Existing robots are just too hard to use and program, and that they're very limited in what they can do.
The facility here is unlike most robotics operations in the country. Standard Bots isn't just assembling robots, it's building them from the ground up. The company designs its own motors, controllers, encoders, and even its own circuit boards, all under one roof.
If you go back to like the original Henry Ford line, you had a mine at one end and you had cars coming out the other. That's the model for what we're doing here, which is getting bars of metal and melting them down and then milling them and heat treating them and powder coating them and doing that all here in the US and automating a lot of it with robots, but also hiring a lot of people to help. By doing it all in one production line, you can get so many more efficiencies, and that's what we're doing. And we think we're going to be able to compete with anywhere in the world, really, and our robots will be competitive on price and not competitive on features because we're going to be so far ahead of everyone.
Standard Bots currently produces 3 sizes of 6-axis robot arms, ranging from a compact 2-foot arm with a 15-pound payload to a 6-foot industrial arm capable of lifting 70 pounds. All of them run on the same software platform.
We always aim for that iPhone type experience, and that's our bar for the usability. You can just read through the program. Like it says, have the robot move over to the pickup position, have it shut the gripper to grab the object. And where it's going is you just talk to it and you say, hey, I want you to pick up these parts and load them into that vise right there. And it can do all the rest.
Welcome back to Taking Stock, everyone. We're live down here on the trading floor of the New York Stock Exchange. Markets are closed for trade, but it was a big day, and that's because shares of Vita Global officially debuted for trade. I'm joined now by Lyle Pratt. He's founder and CEO of Vita Global. Lyle, welcome and congratulations.
Yeah, thank you. It's a big day for us.
A big day for your company, of course, tapping the capital markets. Give our viewers a better sense as to what Vita Global does.
Yeah, so Vita is focused on an area of the market we think is pretty ignored right now. We think there's a huge opportunity in the long tail of businesses that actually want to sell agentic services to their existing customer bases. So that's what our platform is. It's very focused on enabling our customers to sell AI.
And why was now the right time to tap the capital markets?
Well, we have a lot of good things coming down the pipes. We're excited to use this capital to grow. We're excited to continue staying focused on enabling our unique distribution model through partners to distribute agentic services to their existing customers.
Give us a better sense as to these agentic services and what they do specifically for businesses.
Yeah, whether it's having an agent answer the phone or automate, routine work. One way to think about it is the BPO market. The BPO or business process outsourcing market. It's about $100 billion a year in the United States. That entire space is addressable by agentic services, and our whole strategy is working with partners and customers who already have those relationships and enabling them to sell AI.
Okay, I think you're ready to giddy up, and forgive me for the phrase, but I had to because you've not only listed here on NYSE American, but NYSE Texas too, is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, we're a proud Texas company.
Yeah, so talk to me more about the decision behind that to list on both exchanges.
We viewed it as just a great opportunity to expand awareness of our company and what we're trying to do here, enabling partners to sell AI. And, we love being in Texas. Texas has a whole host of talent, and we're excited to be there.
What's next for Vita Global?
We have a lot of things coming, a lot of new partners, coming down the pipes. Excited to expand our services through our unique distribution model of working with these partners.
All right, I think that's just going to about do it. Lyle Pratt, he's founder and CEO of Vita Global. Lyle, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. All right, everyone, we started this show with fireworks for Macy's as we're 50 days away from America's 250th anniversary. The NYSE is an official partner of America 250, a bipartisan initiative to celebrate it. Let's take a look at how the NYSE has modernized over centuries alongside American innovation.
America 250 is as much about where we're going as where we've been. Milestones like this don't just invite reflection. They ask us to rise to the responsibility we've inherited and to carry it forward by fueling growth and opportunity. Warren Buffett put it simply, never bet against America. Because the ability to raise capital in this country, the entrepreneurship, the drive, and the innovation are truly second to none.
Welcome back to Taking Stock, everyone. We're down here on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange. I'm pleased to be joined by Will Koss. He is executive producer for Macy's 4th of July fireworks. Will, you got the party started up there on that closing bell podium with some fireworks here. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you for having us. Exciting day for us.
Always happy to welcome Macy's here, of course, for this tradition every single year. Anything you can share with us today that Macy's is announcing as we approach the 4th of July?
Today is officially 50 days until our 50th Macy's 4th of July fireworks, the nation's biggest fireworks show, celebrating a fantastic anniversary. We look forward to bringing the biggest and best show to New York City and the nation.
I can't believe it, 50 days away from America's 250th birthday. What is happening in these next 50 days to get ready?
This is the official countdown to the big event. We have our pyrotechnics almost sorted out. We've got a couple of last minute things to do. We've got some colors to figure out. Our music is coming together, but over the next couple of days we'll be getting our final score in place, our pyrotechnic designs in place. We're excited about animating off the Brooklyn Bridge this year, Lower Manhattan, Lower East River, the west side of Manhattan. It's going to be a really fantastic and exciting event for us.
So it sounds like there's not really a bad view, is that right?
There's not a bad view. If you have eyes over Lower Manhattan, you're going to have the water over Lower Manhattan. You're going to have a fantastic view of the spectacle this year.
You're going to be in the right place.
Yes.
Are you in the control room when this all goes down? How does this work?
I'm actually at a desk at command. We call it command, and we count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We hit a button, and then for 25 minutes, there's a fantastic show of pyrotechnics, effects from the Brooklyn Bridge down to lower edge of the waterfront in Manhattan.
Okay, so you mentioned there are still a few details that need to get ironed out, like the colors, for instance. What goes into color selection? Is there any sort of science or artistry behind it?
There is actually a lot of science behind it, but our color stories, for the most part, are influenced by the music. So when depending on where we are in the emotional journey of the score itself is how we'll start to select colors. If we're in a patriotic mode and mood, we'll be a little red, white, and blue. If we're in a party mode, we might add a little extra color and a little extra sound and booms and crackles and bangs. So it really is dictated by the emotional journey of the score, which we take great pride in doing and have been doing for the last 50 years.
Okay, so we got to get those eyes on Lower Manhattan, NYC, expecting millions of tourists, visitors, viewers, you name it, right? People who are going to be here for the spectacular throughout the 4th of July weekend. What does this mean for Macy's?
We've been a part of culture and a part of life's moments, big and small. For the last 50 years in fireworks, we're celebrating our 100th parade this year. We take great pride in being that emotional and personal vessel for a couple of hours on Thanksgiving morning or on the 4th of July evening, where strangers, families, friends can come together and experience a little spectacle, a little surprise, a little delight, and a little bit of community.
Any fun facts you can leave us with before we have to let you go, Will?
There's over 60 pyrotechnicians that are going to be working tirelessly around the clock on the 3rd to the 4th, getting our show prepared. We've got a variety of performances that are going to be happening on our national broadcast from 8 to 10 p.m. Fireworks should be starting promptly about 9:25 p.m. And we look forward to sharing this gift to New York City and America. Okay, 9:25 p.m. I'm adding it in my calendar. Got to make sure I have a good view, especially this year. Will, always a pleasure. Thank you for joining us here at the Stock Exchange. Really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Happy 4th. Happy 4th. We're ready to go. Yes, that's Will Koss. He is executive producer for Macy's 4th of July fireworks. All right, everyone will stay with us because coming up after a quick break, we'll have an interview with Sean Farrell of Fundstrat and much more here on the floor of the NYSE.
All right, everyone, let's talk some digital assets. Joining me now with more, of course, as we look at this space is Sean Farrell. He is head of digital asset strategy at Fundstrat. Sean, it's great to have you joining us remotely this afternoon, rounding out a pretty big week on Wall Street, across the country and the globe. What is the significance of the Clarity Act advancing now to a Senate vote?
Yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, I mean, clarity is huge for market structure. Certainly widens the aperture for, traditional financial market participants to get more involved in the digital asset space, not just in, endogenous crypto assets, but, in dealing with tokenized stocks, commodities, et cetera. And it provides just a reliable framework for folks and lowers that regulatory risk premium going forward.
We see Bitcoin trading just a little bit below $80,000 a token. Do you think that this crypto asset can reclaim a high that it saw, within the past 6 months or so? We're talking of about $120,000 a piece.
At some point, yeah. And I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, unfortunately. We were pretty measured coming into the year. I think there was just a lot working against the asset class after what was, pretty much a 3-year bull market. I think near term, there are things to be excited about. One of those things is clarity. Like you said, it did advance through, from the Senate Banking Committee markup. It's going to receive a Senate floor vote, which, could result in a constructive outcome. I'm not sure that, begets material inflows into the space in any structural way in the immediate term, though. The other constructive factor is that, Strategy's Stretch variable rate preferred stock has been, a reliable source of inflows into the crypto complex. And the important thing to note about this security is that, these are non-directional flows. So these are flows that are not speculating on the price direction of Bitcoin. And so, I expect those to be, remain rather robust. But in terms of the broader backdrop, I think there's a lot of wood to chop here over the next, say, 1 to 3 months. I think, I've tuned into some of your segment. I think some folks have already noted how right now the backdrop, looking at the sell-off in sovereign debt, some hot inflationary figures, with a new Fed chair coming in, I think that sets up for a pretty tricky setup overall here in the near term. And so, I'm overall, I think we're, we'll say 80% of the way through the bear market, but, may be a little more room to go before we can say all systems go.
All right. Well, Sean Farrell, head of digital asset strategy at Fundstrat, thank you so much for joining us here today.
Thank you.
All right, everyone. Now, Money 2020 Scarlett Sieber is back to explain how fintech companies really make money. Let's take a look.
I'm Scarlett Sieber with Money 2020, and this is how fintech companies actually make money, where we stop confusing excitement with economics and look at how the business actually works. Today, we're going to be talking about crossover markets. And this one matters because it sits right at the point where crypto stops behaving like retail speculation and starts looking like real market infrastructure. For years, crypto trading has been dominated by consumer platforms, flashy apps, incentive-driven volume, and high churn. Institutions don't trade that way. They care about execution quality, liquidity, predictability, and control. That's the gap Crossover Markets was built to fill. Crossover operates institutional-grade crypto trading venues designed more like FX markets than retail crypto exchanges. Tight spreads, neutral execution, infrastructure built for firms that trade size, not those vibes. So how does Crossover Markets actually make money? First, transaction-based trading fees. Crossover earns small fees on each trade. On their own, they look tiny, but multiplied across institutional volume, those basis points become meaningful income very fast. Second, liquidity access economics. Institutions are willing to pay for deep, reliable liquidity, especially when they need to move large positions without disrupting prices. Crossover monetizes being a venue institutions trust to execute cleanly. Third, market structure value. By operating like an FX-style ECN rather than a retail exchange, Crossover attracts professional participants who trade consistently. That consistency creates recurring, yes, you guessed it, predictable revenue. So here's the key distinction. Crossover doesn't just make money by encouraging reckless trading. It makes money by making trading boring, controlled, and repeatable. Exactly what institutions prefer. So why Crossover right now? Because institutional crypto interest never disappeared. It just went quiet for a little bit. As volatility normalized and regulation matured, institutions started asking a familiar question. Where can we trade crypto the same way we trade everything else? That timing showed up clearly with Crossover's most recent fundraise. In March of 26, the company raised $31 million in their Series B, and they had the value at around $200 million, so they're getting some traction here. That's not a retail crypto bet. That's a market structure bet by traditional finance. So where's the real moat? Liquidity and trust. Once institutions route flow through a venue, liquidity compounds. More flow improves pricing. Better pricing attracts more participants. That flywheel becomes incredibly difficult to disrupt once it's established. Crossover isn't trying to win headlines. It's trying to win the flow. And that, my friends, is how Crossover Markets actually makes money. By turning crypto trading into institutional infrastructure that behaves the way serious traders expect. Not exciting, not flashy, but very, very bankable. If there's a company who wants to feature, put it in the comments below and it might just make the cut. In the meantime, back over to you.
All right, everyone, that's just going to about do it for today's Taking Stock. Thank you for watching. As always, have a wonderful weekend. We'll see you back here on Monday afternoon. Woo!